Welcome everyone to the LEC post-game lobby. I'm joined by YamatoCannon and Upset. They are headed for Worlds, but it is left to be seen if they will also be heading for Malmö. Hopefully we'll get a bit of insight into the Sunday match from these two as well. But first, of course, congratulations, back-to-back Worlds qualifications. Upset, I'll go to you first. Comparatively to kind of the fight last year, how comfortable was this Worlds berth for you?
I mean, the amount of games we had to play in playoffs was definitely less, but I would say our regular season, even though we ended with the same score, was so much more stressful and so much more close to even make it to playoffs. And our best of 5 versus Excel was very interesting as well. So I wouldn't really necessarily say it was easier or worse, because last year I felt like we were also better than these teams, and usually in the best of 5 you can show that in playoffs if you're the better team that you can qualify. So I feel like, to be honest, this time it was more difficult because of the regular season, how everything was for our team.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, maybe less best of 5s, but the situation was completely different. Maybe Yamato can give his view on that, especially, I guess, in terms of the turmoil at the end of the split.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I've made playoffs with 7 wins, like in the past, and the fact that we needed to make 10 is just speaks for the story of the whole split. I think all the teams had moments where they were good, all moments when they were bad, and it was a roller coaster all till the end. And that's just the volatility of best of ones, because like some games, it's like you lose some games you aren't supposed to lose, and then you win some games you aren't supposed to win, and anything can kind of happen on the day, especially in a world where there's so many patches. I felt like every week the meta shifted, and that definitely made it a lot more difficult to be accurate.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Upset, in terms of you getting to Worlds, did it in some world make it easier knowing that you have what it takes to qualify for Worlds? Of course, very unfortunately, you weren't able to show what you got at Worlds, but was that in the back of your mind of like, hey, I know I'm supposed to be able to make it, so I should make it? Does that help at all?
I've never really lacked belief in myself that I will make it to be able to qualify for Worlds, so I don't think it changed too much from last year.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Talk to me about this matchup versus Misfits. They are dangerous at times because we know that they can team fight adeptly at times. Upsets. What do you think the key to victory was from your side?
It felt like we were very dominant in the early game. I think all our matchups, at least on bot, but probably across the map, were going well for us, and even was facilitating as well that everyone can play to the matchup aggressively, which we're very good at. So basically we just had to not play the team fights worse than them from a winning position every game, and that is kind of their strength, right? The team fighting with like a lot of frontline and carries, like hard carry champs on mid and AD. But I think our team kind of was too far ahead in the early game that they could show their strengths in the first and third game, and game 2 it was definitely very close.
Yeah, it was. We had a Telestrator breakdown of like the Dragon fight in game 2, but specifically how the positioning seemed to be a bit tricky. Yamato, what's your view on that as a coach?
I think, generally speaking, I think Misfits, the main prep was just how they posture as 5 around Dragons, and how they sacrifice almost everything to make sure that they're there. And I think in between that, there's an opportunity to get a lot of gold on side or make more educated decisions. Because even in the game 1, when we were super far ahead, sometimes they were overcommitting for those Drakes, and we managed to take 1 tower, 2 towers for it. And I think that accuracy was what kind of ballooned our lead so well in all of the 3 games. They overcommit 5 to make sure that they have that position, and then you can play around with the idea. Do you want to contest, or do you prepare for something else? And I think the boys did that very well today.
Definitely did. I mean, a 3-0 scoreline, regardless of the hiccups, is of course fantastic. Yamato, 2 years ago, you started this adventure, of course, with Fnatic, and I remember talking to you at times, and you're like, okay, this is just so huge, and this is so important that we do so well. You now already made it to Worlds, right? How do you look back on the work you've done this year with the team, and what lies ahead?
I think this year, definitely, the expectations that we set were very different than what we achieved. I think naturally, with the roster that we have, I think the only thing that makes sense in my mind is to win it all. We have made massive strides in terms of using the experience that we've had, and I think the difficult part about spring is that everything goes by so quickly, and then you have to adjust, and then there's meta things, and then there's issues that might rise up, and then with time you can work those things out. I looked at my history, and always in summer it feels like it's so much easier to execute because you know so much more about your players, you know so much more about the dynamic of the roster, and you can set things up to facilitate the personalities that you have on the team. So looking at what we have now and the form we have now, I feel very confident coming into the rest of the playoffs. I think it's definitely up for grabs, and nothing has changed. I still want to win it all.
Yeah, I mean, we do talk about plot armor a lot, Upset, but you talked about how difficult the XL matchup was. How much of a page do you think you flipped in terms of getting that victory and now being very convincing here versus Misfits? Because, of course, you've qualified for Worlds, but the trophy is still waiting as well.
Yeah, I think the XL has like a lot of flexibility, maybe, let's say, in the matchups they play on bot, but more importantly, they usually play a lot around this lane, and I think we also like to do that, but they invested very heavily with global ultis a lot in that series as well, or coming 5 people bot early game, and I also think we just played worse than we did today, but I think that series was a little bit more hard because of the bot lane situation, let's say. But the other teams left in the playoffs, I feel like, are a little bit less good at playing that way, maybe, to be very humble.
Yeah.
And I think that's why today looked a lot easier, because we were really able to play off our strength more.
I mean, so much also was your Kalista performance in game 1. I think we talked about it in Reddit check, looking at how, okay, you haven't played Kalista since it was 2021 summer playoffs versus G2. Of course you can, but we were thinking, okay, is it going to come out in game 1? How much of a conscious decision was it to throw a spanner in the works, much like XL actually did with the Nila last week, to get off to the right foot in this series with the Kalista?
Yeah, I think I'm capable to play all the champs. It just depends what the best strategy is for us. So definitely Kalista is a champ that I quite like and that is ready for some time, but I think versus XL maybe it made less sense, like I said, with a lot of the global things, and in general their bot lane also plays quite well in the laning phase. But versus this team, the ID's champion pool is much weaker. He doesn't really play any answer to Kalista. And to be honest, this game was mostly about us splitting the map early game, and then me and Hilly played the lane well after this as well, but it was mostly about our team playing really well around Kalista, and that is the strength in the champion, which you could also see Mad Lions pull off a little bit worse, I would say, but maybe Rogue was just stronger. But we kind of took it out of their playbook, I would say, with the splitting the map and diving them repeatedly, because it looks like a very strong strategy.
I'm glad you brought it up. If we pull up the bracket, of course, Mad is your next opponent. Yeah, Yamato, what's it going to be about, the series versus Mad?
I think fireworks.
Okay.
Fireworks in the early game. I think later on, I think we have shown a lot of sharpness in terms of the macro, but I think both teams are willing to put it all on the line earlier on in the game. I think Mad Lions have shown strength with how they play with their mid-jungle and how they set up their invades. And this is something that we've been working on super much, which is visible in our games, I believe. So it's going to be an all-out brawl about who can hover first into spaces that matter. And I think no one's going to really let go. So I imagine every Raptor camp is going to be a fight. Every Gromp there's going to be a fight. Maybe even level 1 there's going to be late invades, there's going to be fights. And I'm all for it.
Yeah, Razork was asked about a matchup versus Elyoya. They're good friends, but he's of course super excited, rating Elyoya very highly as well. I feel like getting on the right page and like the exact fit for Razork and the team seems to have been a key to unlocking, I think, the top heavy strength or the strength in general of Fnatic. Would you say that has been one of the biggest developments, Yamato?
I think it's kind of hard to pinpoint one thing, but I think Ivan definitely has improved so much. Like it's insane how much better he plays. I think he has really found his footing in the current meta with the poppies, the trundles, and everything else. And I think he has really expanded his mind in terms of the potential he can bring to the map beyond going to the jungle camps with Diana like in last spring, I think Ivan is definitely smurfing out of his mind right now, and I think that really puts the whole team together. The jungle role is so central in everything that you do, and I think through that everyone can shine. So definitely Ivan has stepped up and is playing super, super good.
It's been great, as has the rest of the team. Tomorrow we have the Kings match upset, which is G2 versus Rogue for direct qualification to the final. What do you think is going to happen there?
I think it will be quite close. I think Rogue spot lane probably excels a little bit more at playing for the laning phase and plays these gems quite well. But G2 spot lane has shown a lot of flexibility to try to weather the storm, and G2's top side, of course, is very, very good. So I think it will be quite close, and maybe a clash of styles or something to set a narrative. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. You written that down, producers?
So yeah, it will be a fun series to watch, I think.
Should hopefully be a fun series to watch indeed. Before we continue here, we have a special intermission because unfortunately Misfits are eliminated from Worlds, which also means this was the last time, unfortunately, we've seen them here in the LEC. So to say goodbye, Laura is joined by Deficio.
Thank you, Sjokz. And thank you, Berlin, also. Deficio, thank you so much for joining me. I'm sorry that the journey has to end like this, but you know how it is. Competition has to be winner, has to be loser. Yeah, I know you were just outside with the players. Without saying too much and without being too intrusive, can you tell me about what happens backstage when you need to comfort your players after ending the year like this? Well, what would you have to say to them to comfort them?
I mean, at the moment, you can't say too much, right? Everyone reacts in their own way to mainly just to losing the series. I think that's what everyone thinks about, not about the year being over or anything. But we have really good staff who's, just kind of talking through everything with the guys and making sure everyone is doing okay. But in this situation, you just need time and to wait a little bit before I think you do any deeper conversations.
It's never easy, but I'm sure that you and the staff have the right words to appease the players for now. But I think when you think of Misfits this year, it's fair to say that you guys exceeded expectations, replacing players twice, reaching playoffs twice. Also, how do you reflect on the year you had and how far you brought this lineups actually with the two changes?
It's kind of funny to sit here now, reflecting on the year. Would have been great to make Worlds, I'll say that much. I think we came into the year kind of following up on last year, where we were also very close, even closer to making Worlds. Made a few upgrades to the team, but stuck to the same identity and style, and found, obviously, new rookies we could bring in and found Neon and so on. So we knew coming into the year that we actually had a really strong team and didn't really mind the outside opinions because it's so hard to judge, obviously, from the outside, especially with rookies and so on. But yeah, still think we managed to exceed expectations by getting top 4 twice. Which was fantastic from regular season. Obviously, now you sit with the bittersweet feeling when it comes to best of fives and playoffs. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, we had a very solid year. But I think we also very disappointed because we actually really felt we could have pushed it into Worlds.
And as hard as it may feel, and I understand, as you said, you chose the rookie road for the past 2 years. I mean, players like Razork, who were going to make their first World Championship, players like Vitio, that you helped finding a career, Neon also, bringing in Zanzara, Irrelevant also on the top lane. When you think of these players and the help you provided for them, what kind of future do you foresee with these rookies that you helped us discover?
I mean, I think every single one of these players should obviously be in the LEC next year. I think that's quite obvious. I think we had success because a lot of players could individually step up from time to time when it mattered, but they also understood how to play well as a team, which I think is a very underrated skill. Not every player understands and can bring to the table. So I think we have some individually very good players, but obviously lacking experience sometimes lacking certain picks in the champ pool that the more seasoned players maybe have already mastered and picked up over the last many years. So I think I don't hope anyone judges them based on today's 3-0. I think we had a good series last week. I think we had a great regular season again. So I think there's some great talent here, and the same thing I want to say about our coaching staff behind them. I think they've managed to be such an important part of scouting and finding players over the last 2 years, of figuring out how to utilize young players and actually get the most out of them and get them up to speed very quickly with what you need in order to play in the LEC. If you think back to summer last year, we had a great start. Spring this year, we had a great start. Obviously, rough one in this summer, but then we bounced back. I think that all comes down to the whole group being super strong together and our coaches being incredibly good at understanding what this team needs in order to win, which is the most important skill from a staff. So, yeah, I think we have some amazing people and amazing players that all quite obviously deserve a job in the LEC or LCS or wherever for next year. And I think their resume shows that.
And I can only expect and wish them a happy and long career, of course. But when one journey begins, one has to end. And as Sjokz said earlier, this was Misfits' last dance, if I may say. It's been an org that resonates with the LEC, resonates with Europe, and the legacy is immense, for me at least, when you think about all the different iterations we had of Misfits, the 2017 lineup, the failed super team, the young rosters that you built for the past 2 years. You've saw all of these Misfits, whether you were a caster or joined them as a manager. What does Misfits represent to you when you think of the impact they left in Europe?
Surprises and entertainment in a lot of ways. I guess always trying to bring something new to the table. Every year they've been in the league. I think it's an organization that's had a lot of ups and downs as well over the last many years, which is natural when you come in with a lot of ambition and you try and push it as far as you can. So yeah, I guess for me, mainly the last 2 years matters, right? I think we turned a page. That was a key thing within the organization for everyone working here, kind of resetting from where the org was just before that, and figuring out a new identity and style for the organization, for the League of Legends team specifically, and trying to figure out how do we get the most out of the next years, essentially. And that was kind of putting more emphasis on the structure, on the staff, and on the well-being of the team, trying to get the most out of everyone's skill that way. And then, of course, be willing to gamble on very well-researched rookies or underrated players that we managed to sign. Vander last year as well, Nian this year, and so on. So I think we become a very well-oiled machine and a very fun place to work, which I'm very proud of. So obviously very sad to see it end now. Would have loved to just continue the machine going and hopefully go Worlds next year then.
Well, in any case, thank you for all the memories. Thank you for everything you built with Misfits, and thank you, Misfits, also for everything you did for the league. It doesn't stop there, though. You'll be with us in Malmö next week to share more about Misfits and the legacy the team left in Europe. Deficio, thank you so much for joining me today. Sjokz, back to you in PGL.
Thank you very much, Laure. Thank you, Deficio, for that. They will be missed, but as said, we will have more of a extended, I'm going to say, goodbye also prepared in Malmö. So that'll be great to see. But yeah, maybe Yamato, some closing words on Misfits. It's unfortunate you knocked them out, of course, but it feels like the players with the group that they had, they really pushed the boundaries of what they could do.
I definitely thought, at the beginning of the split, in my Euphoria episode, I thought they wouldn't even make playoffs. Yeah. And they figured out a way. They figured out an identity early, they stick to it. And I think they definitely did better than I expected. And then Misfits as an organization, they have so much history. I think back to 2017, with Ignar and so forth. And, their legacy is marked.
It definitely is.
Sure.
You you are all still building on your legacy and you're going to Worlds. Before we sign off, is there anything you'd like to say to the fans or whatnot, or someone else?
Yeah, definitely. I really want to thank my wife Paula, because it really hasn't been so easy last year's Worlds experience, and everything that came after it was honestly just a lot of pain, and it's of course really sad for me, but also for her. And she supports me so much and is always there, even though it has been like very difficult at times. And I really just want to say thank you, and I love you so much.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for doing that. And of course, much love goes out to Paula. Yamato, would you like to say anything?
Well, I'm
Very
put
good.
on the spot, so I'm going to give a shout out to my girlfriend, Alena. Just joined G2. No conflict of interest. It's all good.
Yeah?
I love her very much. Going to support her very much. You know, God bless all the Fnatic supporters out there as well. Thank you very much. We're going to win LEC. Let's fucking go.
Nice.
You got so hyped, actually.
Yeah, you got so hyped. Amazing.
I had my
Thank
allergy
you for
moment. What's up, people?
that. Okay. You know, Upset, you know, once you give Yamato the mic, sometimes he can't be reined in. So that's how it is. Let's take one more selfie to remember this moment where you guys are going to Worlds.
Do we stand up? Do we sit?
You can stand up, I think it's better, so that I don't have to, like, you know. There you go. Awesome. Thank you both so much. Congratulations. And over in the LCS, we've got TSM versus EG. Super hype. Also looking to keep their dreams for Worlds alive. And we'll be back tomorrow for the Kings match. Rogue versus G2. Bye-bye. Welcome everyone to round 2 of the LEC Summer Playoffs live from Berlin, Germany.
1, 2, 3, play!
The fight for Malmö and Worlds continues. Misfits or Fnatic, one team will lock their spot to the World Championship. The LEC Playoffs round 2 starts right now.
Humanoid running for the hills, but gets hooked out in the end, and the shutdown goes to VTO. That's big, but here comes the rest of Fnatic. Hillsing on the backside. It's a hostile takeover, and boy, is it hostile! Who's chasing who? Flash over the wall. They're going to try to finish the kill before anyone else gets here. Can they get it done? Neon now running against the shield now, coming in just in time. Does he know Light Steal is burning up? It is too late. Berlin erupts and cheers for Fnatic. Proud of the way the team played in Game 1. We get ready for Game 2. There it is, Neon now running, Fnatic! Again, unrelenting across the map. They are individually outplaying. As a team, they are outmaneuvering. They have just been better across the board. Jungler and a Penny manages to take it! Razork, an MVP performance last week, finding purchase again here at Game 2. A double kill for Misfits. Maybe they can wipe the fight to follow. They've lost the Baron, but Neon popping up! Wonder off to the side, there's just too much healing! Upset stepping forward, bailout damage is big! Oh, he brings it back! He brings it back to the Soraka! Fnatic, they made Worlds 9 times. They're looking to make it a 10th across every iteration imaginable. They will move on to match point.
Once again, in Game 3, will Fnatic go to Worlds? Let's find out right now.
Leon off the rip, Razork running forward, irrelevant, ready to turn with the ultimate. Can he find it? But it's too little. It is too late. They're getting swept aside. Misfits running for their lives. The Gwen taking over this fight. Humanoid standing behind him. Upset running down the mid lane. The fans in Berlin alive. The fervor of Fnatic taking over the map. For the 10th time in their history, Fnatic will lock Worlds and knock Misfits out of the playoffs.